today, I wish I had finished one. I guess you'll see it at the end. I'm going to show you how to make a drawstring bag. I'm making these as reusable produce bags for the farmer's market, but you could make it for anything. And I'm also going to show you a method that I think is pretty high quality, so you don't have any raw edges anywhere. We're going to tuck them in on all the sides so that you can wash them a lot of times and they last hopefully years. So let's start with materials. The materials you really need are fabric, and this, I'm making a pretty big one. It's going to end up around 12 inches by 15 inches, and then with the drawstring on the top. And you can make any size you want. If you want to just make little pouches or something, whatever, it doesn't matter. You'll need a tape measure or ruler or cutting mat, at least one of those things, maybe two. Scissors or a rotary cutter. I'm going to show you first how to do it on a sewing machine. So sewing machine if you have one, and then I'll also show how I would hand stitch it. So that would be a needle and thread. Pins are kind of optional. It's a straight line. So if you feel confident that you can sew a couple of straight lines without pins, go for it. If you want to use pins, that's cool too. An iron. This is my mini iron. It's so cute. An ironing board. I just have this sleeve one for today just to fit on the camera. I also have this board I made. It's just a piece of wood covered in wool, like quilt batting, and a piece of canvas with some regular staples. It's about 1 foot by 2 foot, and it works really well. It's just kind of easier than getting off the whole ironing board, and I can use it on my desktop. So we got that stuff. You'll also need, did I say a sewing machine, a buttonholer if your machine has a buttonhole foot, which looks like this. It holds a little button right there, and then there's a setting on my machine, which is not like a particularly fancy machine. It's kind of middle of the road home sewing machine, but it can automatically sew buttonholes. And if you don't have that, that's okay. You could do manual buttonholes, or you can get like a little silver grommet things to make the hole where the string's gonna go reinforced so that it doesn't rip your fabric. And then the last thing I think you need is I'm going to use this rope as the drawstring. You could use really any string or ribbon, or you could cut fabric into like a little strip on the bias, or make bias tape or something, and make a string for the drawstring that matches your fabric. Really anything works, but I'm going to use this rope that I have extra sitting around. Anything you have sitting around. So step one, I already did it unfortunately, but I'll still show you, is to cut the fabric. And this is a scrap I had already in my closet, which is a great use for scraps. And this one, like I said, I think this is, I kind of wanted to end at 15 inches, and because I'm sewing it to cover all the raw edges, I made this 17, but it's folded in half, so I don't have to sew this bottom seam. But if you don't have enough to make it this big, you could sew 2 pieces together. That's totally fine. So we've got 17 this way. This is the top, this is the bottom. And on this way, I have it at 14 inches across. So if I were to be cutting this here, I would use probably my scissors because it's a little bit bigger. My ruler's not quite big enough to get across that long edge. So I lay my fabric down. I know I want this to be 17, and I will cut along this edge, 17, and then I would do it this way. I would fold it in half so it matches exactly. Line it up here into 0, 14, cut this way. That's what I would do if I hadn't already cut it. But I'm making like 50 of these for somebody else, so I cut them all in bulk. Alright, so the next step that I would do is iron. So let's plug this in. This mini iron warms up in like 30 seconds or something, which is another thing I really like about it. So, ironing board, if you will. And I'm going to leave it folded in half because I'm going to iron this crease too. So this is already warmed up, or warm enough. Just going to get it, you know, get like a C if you were taking ironing class. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. Get this bottom seam. I'll do the other side as well. Also, I guess I would tell you, this has been kind of sitting in a pile, which is why I'm ironing it, but iron it before you cut it. That way you don't get these seams that sort of take up too much space. Okay, I'm going to unplug the iron. I don't want to start a fire, and I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, so I'll see you on the other camera. Here we go. Boop. All right. So I'm going to make a French seam. So you'll see I have the outside of the fabric on the outside right now, whereas a lot of things you would start with the right sides facing together. We're going to go with wrong sides facing together for step 1. Get this nice and lined up. Edge here. Okay, like I said, I'm going to go without pins, but if you want pins, use pins. I'm going to make a 1/4 inch seam, and for me that's the edge of the foot, so I'm lining up this edge at the edge of the foot, and I'm just going to go. This is a straight stitch, the most standard straight stitch. It's, let me see this thing, it's 3.5 wide, which you don't have a width on straight seam, and it's a 2.2 long. So just gonna make a nice I didn't have a fold on the bottom, I would stop here, turn the corner like this, and keep going, but because I have a fold, oh no, sorry, I should bump that camera. It's dizzying. Okay, I'll try not to do that. Just straight. I'm not gonna go forward and back. Just, where's that? Can you see? It's so hard to see. Well, there's a blue seam line there. Now I'm going to do the other side. Same thing. 1/4 inch. Here we go. All right. back to the other camera. Okay, and I'm going to turn it inside out. And this is how we're going to hide these raw edges. I'm going to turn it inside out. And this would be a place, if you had like a bone folder or something to get these corners pushed out, that would be another tool I might suggest. Okay. Just to get that nice corner. And same with this one. I'm going to hand it first. And use the bone folder to get way in there. You could use the point of scissors. Well, scissors kind of dangerous because you might cut it, but anything kind of like this, not too sharp. Plug the iron back in. We need to get these seams really flat because then I'm going to create another seam right on the outside of this here, and when you open it up, it's going to do a finger seam. It's going to have tucked that whole raw edge inside there, so you'll never see these raw edges and have to watch them fray when you're washing or using it. So I'm just gonna get that bone folder out. One slide, I guess. Go across that line. Now I'm going to iron. Let's see. I don't know the best way to iron these actually, because I want it to be all the way open at first. So open it up from the outside. Iron's almost warm, pretty warm. This would be a good time to use this actually. If you had a normal ironing board, that'd probably work best. But I don't have another camera to set up on another ironing board. So I'm going to put this on here. Open it nice and flat. And I'll do the other side. That seam nice and open. Okay. Now, go a little. Watch. Oops. Don't burn your fingers. I'm gonna lay this flat. Okay. This edge here. Kind of work it out with your fingers a little so that there's no extra material hiding in that seam. All right, now we'll make the French seam. So I will see you the sewing machine. Here we go. Now we have a little hard to see, but now the right sides of the fabric, this brighter red, are together. That seam we already made is inside here. Right there. Should I get it so you can really see it? There's the raw edge seam. It's inside. And now now I'm going to make another seam, and I'm gonna go, so the first one was a 1/4 inch, and I can feel it with my finger right here at the 1/4, but I really don't want any of that raw fabric sticking out that way on the inside, so I'm gonna go a tiny bit bigger than a 1/4 inch, like a 1/16 of an inch bigger. And I'm gonna run, I can see a line right here on my machine. I'm gonna run the seam straight down. You know what? This one, because it's the final one, I should have probably gone forward and back a couple of times. So I'll just sew over that. Hopefully it won't fray. Go backwards, forward. All right. So I'll show you now. I'm going to see if I can see it in here. So now the outer seam, which this will be the outside, has no raw edge showing, and the inside also no raw edge showing. So one more on this side. It really helps to iron. I know sometimes I get a little lazy and getting out the iron feels a little bit unnecessary, but you'll get a much cleaner seam here if you iron. Backward stitches, couple forward, keep that. Beautiful. And let's go back to the other camera. Here we go. And if we turn it right side out, we have a seam there, and then the inside seam has all parts, raw edges tucked in. Makes a much longer lasting bag. I'm gonna leave it outside though, inside out for now. And here's a good moment to trim a little bit. I don't have my little scissors right here. Clean up these two corners. Okay, just put that aside. All right, so you have the beginnings of a bag. Now we're gonna do the top. I'm gonna trim a couple more threads so they're not in my way. Normally I'd probably leave them because they kind of get tucked in anyway. And I'm lazy about trimming, but let's trim it. Okay, next step, we're going to start the top seam, which has a drawstring running through it. So again, in order to get all those raw edges hidden, I'm going to make about a 1/4 inch fold down. I'm gonna turn this seam flat on its side, and I'm going to start ironing this top edge down I'm not measuring it, I'm just kind of going for it this time. Sometimes I don't even know where my tool is. I don't know what it's called. There's a little tool, it's metal, it has a little plastic slider, and you can slide the slide to 1/4 inch and really measure this out. I should learn the name of that tool. So the whole thing matches in size, but I'm not doing that. Just gonna go for it. Okay, a little bit at a time. Iron. And again, this one, because I did the other one folded that way, I'm gonna fold this one same direction. Watch the fingers when you're ironing. No burnt fingers here. You also learn pretty quick which way your iron vents. So this iron, the heat vents out the top here, the point. So if I put my fingers in front of that, like heat shoots out at me. But this one doesn't have heat vents on the sides, so I can go like this, and I can get my finger here on the side like this without burning. And you know, you might have to learn the hard way which direction can you hear the baby? Which direction your iron vents. But you'll only learn that lesson once or twice, maybe. And then you'll stop putting your fingers where it hurts. I don't know, the mini iron is a lot more fun than a big iron. Maybe in my head, but I like it. And a mini ironing board. Okay, so now I have my 1/4 inch, and I'm just gonna leave that because once I get this part done, folded, I'm gonna do one line of stitching across the bottom. So I don't feel like I need to stitch that just to hold it. I feel like the iron mark is good enough. Get it ironed really well. Okay. Now, this is where a ruler is nice. I want about an inch channel for my drawstring to go. So I just want to know about where an inch is. Oh, I'm going to do this on this edge again. Or on the seam. So mark it here with my fingernail. And I'm going to fold down. And when I'm looking at that, it feels a little small and hard to work with. So I'm going to go a little bit more. About 1.25 inches. And I'm going to iron another, ouch, see, burned myself, another layer, another fold. And as you're ironing this fold, this one gets another, ouch, did it again, another press with the iron, which can be helpful in keeping that first 1/4 inch under control, intact, I guess. Okay. If I would just stop touching the hot fabric, burn myself again. And again, I folded this seam. I laid it down in one direction so it's not getting twisted in there and causing a big lump. It's sitting right on itself. I'm probably could have zoomed in for that. Getting close here. A couple more. Yeah, if I had to use the regular size ironing board, I probably would have only had to do this twist, twice instead of, I'm at 6-8 times around here. Okay, back to where we started. So that's that. I'm going to move this out of my way. The next step is I want to put a buttonhole. I want to put 2 buttonholes, and I want them to be, so here's the inside. I want them to be on the outside in the area where this channel is that I'm building for the string. So here's that area if I was looking at it from the outside. And I'm going to go 1 hole on each side of this seam. So I did not tell you to grab anything to write with, but I would say that'll be really helpful in this moment. I'm going to use a Clover brand water-soluble pencil. I'm going to make a little mark here. That's where I want 1 buttonhole. Or if you had grommets, that would actually probably be a nicer way to finish it, but I don't have grommets or a grommet setter. So I'm going to put buttonholes, 1 on each side. But I'm only going to make the buttonhole through this layer. So I'm going to have to unfold, but that's why it's nice to really iron that seam in, or that fold in, so that when it's time to do the final step, this crease is super strong right here. Okay? I think I'm done with the iron. Unplug that because I have been known to walk out of this room with it plugged in. That's not good. I'm going to go back to the sewing machine, put the buttonholer on. So this is my buttonholer for this machine. Take my regular foot off. Buttonhole foot on. This one you have to pull down. Not that. Here's something. Oh, here it is. Okay. And on this machine, buttonhole is number 16. Alright, where are my marks? Unfold this top fold, but not your 1/8 inch fold or 1/4 inch. Leave that one. You can see my pencil marks. Now this buttonhole, and I think most of them, it's going to do it automatically, but when you start, it starts at the bottom of the hole, not the top, which, well, the machine has to do what it does, but it always confuses me because I want to start at the top. So I'm setting the buttonholer down right at the bottom where I marked my buttonhole spot. And I think I just push go. Done. So let's take a look. It always does it bigger than I expect. It's a lot longer than what I thought it would be, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, do the second one. Beautiful. 2 buttonholes. There we go. I'm going to bring these trimming scissors over to the other camera. So, here we go. Let's do a little closer view of this next step. Okay. There we go. So, open your buttonholes. This usually, I think, I should have put this in the materials. I'll write it down in the materials list. Seam ripper. This one's from Clover brand. Tuck it in right between those 2 lines. And I try not to force it. Just really gently open that buttonhole. Pop it in, don't force it, and slide it up without tearing the threads that the machine just sewed. Buttonhole's open. Let's trim these threads. There we go. Okay. Now we're gonna have this. I see some more threads sitting here. Oh, the back of the buttonholes. Yes, trim that. Scissors are a little dull. There we go. Oh, was that off camera? Go back to my zoomed out. Okay, thirsty. So, the final, it's like 2 steps in one. Because I don't like that step where you have to get out a safety pin and shove the thread or the string through this hole. I'm going to lay this string in the channel while I sew it. So I'm just doing a rough measurement here. And I want maybe like, this is about 6 inches on each. Can you see this? Measuring this, that's the size of the channel, plus extra over here. And I will cut. All right. I'm gonna trim this frayed edge as well. Now, when I'm actually using this bag, this string is going to be coming through that buttonhole. So I'm sticking one in there, gently, just sort of laying it where it would go here. And then when I get to here, there's the other buttonhole, hop in that out. And it's gonna come out of this. We're gonna sew that next step nice and slow. So now we don't have to do that whole step, shoving this string through the channel. We're gonna sew it in there without accidentally attaching it where it's not supposed to be attached. So I'm gonna start the sewing right here at this seam between the two ends. Okay? Oh, okay. Need the other foot. Just a regular sewing foot. And I also need, sorry that's squeaky, to remove that piece so I can go in a circle. Okay. Oh, sorry everybody. Let's wait till that stops wiggling. Okay. Gonna get this arranged first. Now remember, we have to sew in this little 1/4 inch bit down. So if you sew too far over this way, then this frayed edge will show on the inside. So I'm sewing as close to the edge of this fold as possible. Maybe trying to get an 1/8 inch in there, okay? So now my string's in here, and we're going to super slowly make our way around the circle, tucking that in as we go. And when I start, I'm going to do forward. Uh-oh, still on button mode. Alright, here we go. Slow over this seam, which is 4 layers of fabric. Okay. Alright, I need to pause, arrange, tuck my rope in. I like to be able to feel it with my right hand here. Pause, tuck my rope in some more. Go super slow over this area that has all these fabric layers. Almost done. I can feel that rope in there. I'm going to go backwards. It's really stuck on there. And forwards. I did not like that big layer right there. See, we have a little bit of a mess. I'm going to trim it up and see if it looks okay. Alright, let me just do one more step at the sewing machine before we go check it out. I'm going to line up these two ends, and this, you know, fingers crossed, should be doing this with a much bigger needle. Sorry. Touch the camera. I'm gonna stick them right under the foot together. I'm gonna go to a zigzag stitch, make it pretty wide, 7. I'm gonna do in longer than normal, 3 long. And I'm gonna go zigzag really slowly. I feel like it's gonna break my needle. It's going really wonky. What I really want is a big... Stop going wonky. Well, it's decent. Zigzag stitch those two ends together so that they don't get lost in here and I don't have to go fish out the ends. So then, let's go back to the other camera. Final steps here on the machine sewing one. Flip it. Oh, let's trim first. Oh, there's a baby crying. Okay, trimmed. Flip it right side out. Okay, I'm almost burning myself while this cools down. No more iron. So there we go. Got the rope. Works as a drawstring. Very cool. And if I open the inside, there's no raw edges. Everything's tucked in beautifully. Cool. Very happy with that. And it's cute fabric. Let's look at it right side up. Drawstring bag. Done. Done with the bag, sewing machine style. I'm going to show you relatively quickly with a little scrap how I would do a hand stitched seam if I was not using a machine. So pretend these two are the same way we started this, right side out. And let's hope I have a little bit of thread already threaded. Let's come in close here. Great. Gonna put a knot. I'm gonna use a single thread. Wrap around the needle 3 times. Pull through. Okay, so I'm going to line these up and I'm going to whip stitch all the way across for the first seam. So well, it's a little hard to do this nicely in this angle with the camera straight above. But we got it. We got this. Same theory. You could totally do a running stitch too, but a hand sewn running stitch is not the strongest stitch. So this is a very sloppy whip stitch. So sorry. I don't think I could get through this whole thing. So I'm whip stitched to there. We'll just pretend that I went all the way across and I tied off. Again, wrap the thread 3 times. Oh my goodness, thread's not behaving. 1, 2, 3. Hold it in my fingers. Alright, trim it. So I would have done this whole edge the first time around, which we did right sides out, whip stitch all the way across, both sides or all 3 sides if you haven't done the fold at the bottom, whip stitch, turn it inside out. Turn it inside out. And then I would do another whip stitch here. So I'm going to turn this, I'm going to iron it. Iron's still kind of hot. I'm going to fold it out. I'm sorry, I wouldn't do a whip stitch this time. Fold it, and then in order to tuck those raw edges so you can't find them, I would do here, I would do a back stitch. So you go up. Oh no. See if I have another piece threaded. Definitely don't have another piece threaded. But I guess I don't have to rush. Because if you already finished with sewing machine method, you don't have to watch this. This is for if you want to know the hand stitch method. Okay. 1, 2, 3 times around. Then you have a triple knot. Okay. So this would be, now we're looking at, this is our inside out version. We already did the whip stitch up the other side. I'm going to back stitch. So back stitch, let's see. Be able to see better on this green, I think. So you come up through the back, down, what feels like backwards. You're going back towards you. And then you're going to go up past where you put that other stitch and back stitch. Back stitch is a really strong stitch. And what we're doing there with this second row of stitches is hiding the raw edges that were down here in our next seam. And so now we back stitch all the way across the side seam. So back stitch again, you come up past where you finish that last stitch and back down. I try to get in the same hole where my last stitch was. Do it again, come up past, back down the hole from the previous stitch. Back stitch. Back stitch. So between the whip stitch and the back stitch, you have a nice strong hand sewing seam. And see if you open it up there, no raw edges showing. So this would be what the outside would look like and the final product, and this would be what the inside would look like, and also no raw, no raw edges on the inside. So it's very washable, reusable, and super sturdy. Pull on that. Okay? And that's that. Let me show this one more time. Come out here. Drawstring bag. Okay, one last thing. If you are hand sewing, or if you don't have a buttonholer or a grommet setter, I would cut tiny little holes first, and I would whip stitch like so tight right next to each other all around this edge. And I might do it twice. I would go once where I'm only going like 1/8 of an inch there, and then I would do it again and go a little further, so I'd have a really big whip stitch, like circle almost. You just need it big enough to get the string through, and you can use a much smaller string if you want to make less of a hole for it. Okay, I think that's the end of that. Thanks for watching.